The latest murder had occurred just 3 weeks ago, and had been too close to home for my comfort, even though I'm hardly a blonde bombshell. Now, if the killer was looking to off a short, 200-plus, cranky, middle-aged woman with medium brown hair and freckles, I was his gal. His last victim had been a nurse who worked at Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach. She had disappeared following her shift and was found 3 days later in Laguna Canyon, naked, tied to a tree, and dead. According to the news, the word whore had been printed on her torso in black, just like all the others. My friend Dev Frye, a Newport Beach homicide detective, had been called in to assist on the case, since the victim had lived and worked in Newport Beach. This past Tuesday, in celebration of Greg's birthday, Greg and I had him over for dinner with a few other friends, and he had arrived late with a bottle of fine wine in hand, his face haggard and distressed. "No, Lil, I'm sure it's not a joke. Not to you, not to anyone. But to suspect your own son of such a heinous thing, it's so... Search as I might, I couldn't think of the right word. So unspeakable? Bingo. Yes, Lil, so unspeakable. Lil took a sip of her coffee and dabbed at the corners of her mouth before continuing. I'm sure Jeffrey Dahmer had a mother, and Ted Bundy, and Charles Manson. Monsters are born into this world just like everyone else, Odelia. I nodded, speechless for a change. I studied Lil. We'd met online several years earlier in an internet game room, and soon found ourselves meeting online once or twice a week to play backgammon. More and more, the online meetings had less to do with the games, and more to do with sharing our lives and exchanging ideas. We finally thought it silly not to meet in person, especially since I lived in Newport Beach and she lived in Laguna Hills, which aren't that far from each other. We started meeting every few months after that for lunch. Lil had even attended my wedding. Even though I now live in Seal Beach, which is a bit further up the coast from Laguna Hills, we still make time for our occasional lunches. I had yet to meet the talented Dr. Brian Eddy, even though I had heard quite a bit about him. Of course, I know you're right, Lil, but still it's so creepy and bizarre. How on earth did you come up with such an idea? I mean, do you have any proof? She held the napkin up to her nose and sniffed gently. No hard evidence, just a lot of coincidences, and some things I'd rather not talk about right now. She looked around the restaurant. It was a pleasant and airy cafe near her home, a place frequented by a lot of her neighbors from Leisure World, the retirement community where she resided. At least, not here.